Blacks in Technology.
Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology.
Welcome, everybody, to the 76th episode of the Blacks in Technology Bit Tech Talk podcast. I'm your host this evening, Greg Greenlee. And, we are episode 76. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, you can check Blacks in Technology out. The following URLs: www.blacksintechnology.net. That is our community site. Over 1,700 members plus nationwide have signed on or engaged in the community. You can check us out on the Twitters, and that's at Black in Technology. That's BLKINTECHNOLOGY. You can also check us out on Facebook, and that's facebook.com/Blacks in Technology. And we also have a LinkedIn group under Blacks in Technology. And if you're on the Twitters right now, you have questions for our guests tonight, tweet them using the hashtag BitTechTalk, and that's BITTECHTALK. Blacks in Technology is a tech-focused community and media organization focused on increasing diversity in technology. We are always focused on forming new partnerships and opportunities to assist our members with their continued professional growth and development. So if you want to partner with us, send us an email to partnerships@blacksintechnology.net. Any general inquiries, you can send an email to contact us at blacksintechnology.net. And if you'd like to sponsor our podcast, you can send us an email to sponsorship@blacksintechnology.net. Announcements. What announcements do we have tonight? DevOps Day Chicago. We are going to partner with them once again this year. We partnered with them last year, and went pretty well. We sent some Blacks in Technology members to the DevOps Day Chicago event. And this year we're partnering with them once again. You can actually receive 25% discount on registration. So DevOps Day Chicago is a 2-day community-driven technical conference that focuses on bridging the gap between development and operations. This year, the conference will take place August 25th and 26th at the University of Chicago Gleacher Center. Members of the Blacks in Technology community can use the promo code BIT25, that's BIT25, to receive a 25% discount on registration. If you want to learn more about the event, or if you want to submit a proposal to present at the conference, check out DevOps Day Chicago at DevOpsDayShy.org. So that's DevOpsDaysShy, CHI.org. All right. We are going to learn about open data, civic engagement through the use of technology. Tonight, our guest is Lavita Tuff. Lavita, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Greg. I'm really excited to be here this evening.
Oh, you're most welcome, most welcome. I think I'm going to learn a lot tonight because I don't know what open data and civic engagement is, and I think this is going to be a really interesting conversation to learn what that is and how technology is helping with that. So give us a little bit about your educational and professional background. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So first off, let me start off by saying you do know what open data is. We all do. We just don't realize that it's actually open data. So this should be really fun and exciting to talk about this evening. But I'm from Atlanta, so I'm an Atlanta girl, a Georgia girl, a proud product of the Atlanta Public Schools, despite all controversy. And I went to Tennessee State University, where I got my bachelor's in English, went on from there because TSU instilled in me with our motto, which was think, work, and serve. So I left college, really believing that I had to give back to the world because people that came before me really provided a strong foundation at TSU. And I left TSU, went to grad school at the University of New Orleans, got my master's in urban and regional planning, immediately took off on the ground in New Orleans doing community organizing in the 7th Ward, and I realized this is not enough, like just being a planner, working in the community, like this is not enough. I need something extra to add so I can sit on both sides of the table and tell people what their rights are and protect those rights. And I made the big decision to go to law school. Did my first year of law school at Southern Law, which is a black law school. I support black law schools despite my decision to transfer. And I graduated from the University of Baltimore last year. where I got to be a mayoral fellow. I interned on the Hill for Congressman Cedric Richmond. So I've done a lot of work in government and also in community organizing.
Excellent, excellent. And I think, what you touched on as far as your background and helping people know what their rights are and things like that, that's such a big thing in today's climate. And what you're saying affects Black people even more so, because our rights seems to be the ones that violated even more. So it's kind of a funny paradigm there that a lot of Black people, especially I run into, don't know fully what their rights are, even though it's our rights that are constantly being trampled on.
I agree with you, and I saw this report a week ago too that talked about how there aren't enough Black attorneys in the world. And so, when you go to law school, you see your counterparts, even though there weren't a lot of us at University of Baltimore, and they are trying to increase their diversity efforts. You're like, right. Hey, we're out here, we're all becoming lawyers, but really the numbers are startling at how many of us are actually attorneys, and we can actually go into our communities and represent ourselves. So the report was shocking, but it really is important for us to be able to have conversations about what our rights are and really adequately know what they are, so we can make sure we're applying the law properly.
And open data, civic engagement, that all ties into that, right?
It does. Like, open data literally, before, I too was like, what is open data? I don't have a technology background. I barely am like a Facebook and Instagram professional. So I don't really use technology like that. But open data literally is a part of our everyday lives, because what it is freely used, reused, and redistributed data. Like, that is what open data should be. And anyone should be able to do that. We should be able to freely use it. We should be able to reuse it, redistribute it, and make solutions for our communities. And so something as simple as a government employee's salary. So how much is our mayor making? That's open data. How much does it cost to repair a pothole? How much does the city spend on that? That's open data. How much does the city spend on paper clips this year? That's open data. We have a right to access that information. Gotcha.
Interesting. And we're going to talk a little bit more about, that civic engagement and technology as it pertains to both of those. So you work for the Sunlight Foundation right now, correct? So tell us who Sunlight Foundation is and what their mission is.
So Sunlight Foundation is probably one of the coolest places on earth. I have to, give a major plug to Sunlight. We are a national, nonpartisan, nonprofit organization that creates and uses tools of civic tech, open data, and policy analysts and journalism to basically make our government more accountable, because we believe in our government being accountable and it being transparent. And so our really huge goal and mission is to make sure that we achieve changes in making laws that require real-time disclosure, that require online transparency, that require for government information to be public information.
Excellent. And when you say transparency, what do you mean by that?
So with transparency, we should know that if there is someone that is donating a certain amount of money to a campaign, right? So we should know. There should be financial disclosure about campaign dollars. There should be transparency in terms of how much certain contractors are getting from the city, right? So we should know about those procurement processes. That all should be transparent, because at the end of the day, a lot of that is a taxpayer's money.
Right. So it's basically being able to see what these activities within our government are, and how it affects us, and that essentially allows us to make better decisions when it comes to electing officials or vote on certain issues, things like that.
Right. I mean, we all pay taxes. Either you like it or you don't, but we all do. And so we should know, when I pay my taxes, where did this money go? What is my government using the funds for? And so I should have a say, to a certain extent, about what you're using the funds for. And so I can't really argue that my city isn't doing anything for me if I'm not looking into those matters and arguing to get those things done.
Gotcha. Definitely makes sense. And what I think is fascinating is that this stuff is already out there, and it's just organizations like Sunlight Foundation, but not only organizations such as Sunlight, but ordinary people, engineers and techs could actually take this data and use it in a way to present it to the people, so that people are more aware of what's going on within government. You kind of explained what open data is. So tell us a little bit more about civic engagement, and then if you could tell us why technology is so important to the both of them.
Sure. So there was, when I was in grad school, there was this thing called a ladder of public participation that trained planners on how to engage with constituents in cities. And so that was it came out in 1969. And so the way that cities and states, and sometimes even the federal government, interact with constituents is still in a 1969 manner. So much so that the Knight Foundation came out with a report that showed that millennials were not voting in local elections because they were just disconnected. And so what happens is when there's a lack of engaging people in our communities to become a part of this process that helps make government run, then we see a breakdown. And that's why we see millennials not voting for mayors. That's why we see millennials not voting and showing up for local elections, despite what the numbers may say. And so it's really important that we stop using a 1969 approach to a 2015 audience. Because when I was growing up, my grandmother didn't have the ability to email her congressman, but we do now. And so we have to start applying some of these new tools and technologies that we have available to us to what we have historically done in civic engagement.
Gotcha. And so what you're pretty much saying is technology is important because the tools that we used back then are not the tools that we use today in order to get people engaged. Totally different environment. Go ahead.
Totally different environment, totally different generation. It's completely, we're not looking at paper anymore. We're looking at Facebook. I mean, clearly the president got Twitter, a month ago? So we can see the president, the leader of the free world. We can tweet him now. So it's a change from the way we used to historically engage with our audiences.
Gotcha. So let me ask you this: why is it important that this type of access to government information? I know you mentioned that it's real time. So I want to know, why is it important that access to government information occurs in real time? And then tell us a little bit about the technological tools out there that you've seen that allows this to happen, allows us to view this information in real time.
Sure. So let's talk about the last presidential election. So when President Barack Obama was running, we knew daily how much money he was raising in his campaign, right? So there was all this financial disclosure surrounding their campaign. But if we take a step back and we're looking at our senators, our senators are still giving their financial disclosure statements via paper. So that can take 3 months for us to find out how much money actually went into their campaign and where it came from. And so when you're talking about senators who don't want to, fully participate in full disclosure, that's a little scary, because the election's already over, they've won, and we're still waiting to figure out, where did all this money come from? So we want to know in real time who donated to your campaign. How much money have you raised? We want you to be transparent about where those funds are coming from and who's powering this shit. And it shouldn't just have to be in a presidential race. So that's what's really important when it comes to some things in real time. Of course, we want to be able to access, when a bill is passed, can we access it in real time? So those are, additional things. But the biggest thing is campaign finance. We want to be able to tell who gave you the money, when they gave it to you, and we don't want to wait 3 months later for a paper trail. And then the next thing in terms of technology tools that help empower that. So a really great example is Checkbook NYC 2.0. And this transparency tool allows anyone to explore open data about New York City's day-to-day spending. So I can go there and I can figure out how much money was spent on paper clips today? Who did they have a contract with to pick up the trash today? So it allows us to get a real-time view of where New York City is spending their money. And you see that also in other states like Ohio.
What was the name of that again?
It's called Checkbook NYC 2.0, and it's like checkbooknyc.com.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, but you also have it in Ohio. So, Ohio also has the checkbook where you can go in and see how much a government employee got paid. You can go in and see, what were they reimbursed for expenses for travel. So in Ohio, you have a treasurer who's really passionate about financial transparency, and he's made this amazing model of how to make sure you can track a state's dollars.
Wow, I have to check that out. So would that be checkbook like OH.com, or what would that be for Ohio? Because I'm in Ohio.
Find the link. Oh, I would have to find a link for you, but let's see, Checkbook Ohio. But yeah, it is. I would have to find links for that for you.
Okay, no problem. So obviously these are not in every a single city or state. So like, what's the criteria? Like, is it something that the city has to push for in order to get something like Checkbook NYC in their town, or how does that work?
Okay, so Ohio's is ohiocheckbook.com, but so we have cities and states that come to us and say, I'm really interested because I have open government groups and individuals who are pushing for us to be more transparent and accountable, but how do we do this? So it's still a new concept to a lot of people in government about how do we take all this data that we didn't even realize we were collecting and put it into one source. People can come and access it, and then not only access it, but is it machine readable? Is it user friendly? What format do we put it in? How do we prioritize which data sets to put out? So, the first step is always having a city or a state who's interested in having an open data policy or open data portal. And a policy is really important because you want to make sure that when whoever is in place, the governor or mayor, leaves, that you continue with this, culture of transparency and accountability. So we do see cities and states, coming along saying, hey, Sunlight, can you show us how to do it? And on our website at sunlightfoundation.com, under state and local policies page, you can actually see where the states and cities that we've interacted with in terms of open data.
Excellent. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out. I didn't even know that something like that existed. Although I have seen user groups around here get together in order to try and they're more programming user groups, but then they utilize the open data to try to come up with programs that utilizes the open data to create tools that people can use. I guess that would be similar to Checkbook NYC or Ohio Checkbook. So yeah, that's
right.
Pretty cool. So and so in the Black community especially, one of the things you hear, or at least I hear, is how people don't feel involved in their local government and what goes on in city and state, what have you. So how does the Sunlight Foundation go about making sure citizens are aware of the technology available to them, and also how to use it in order to affect change in their communities?
So I think that the great thing about Sunlight is that Sunlight is the organization that creates the tools, right? So Sunlight, where we stand, we have several tools. So we have something called Open Congress, which is a nonpartisan source for legislative information that will let anybody track bills, lawmakers, and issues that they care about. Then on a state level, we have Open States, and it allows anybody to discover more about lawmaking in their state, and they can track state bills and get campaign and contact information for their state legislators. And it follows all 50 states, including D.C. and Puerto Rico. And then you have a tool like Scout that allows you to create a customized email or text alert on actions that Congress takes on an issue or a specific bill, but it also allows you to track state bills. So what Sunlight has created are really amazing tools that are just as easy to use as Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And so
oh, wow.
I think that, the first step here is realizing in communities of color, I literally just wrote about this in a blog post earlier this week, that sometimes when I was a community organizer, I would hear people say, well, I don't get involved in city council because they won't let me, as if they needed a permission slip to be active in government. And, we have to reverse that thinking. Like, I don't need a permission slip to become active in government, but my government needs a permission slip on how it's going to act on my behalf. And so we have to kind of switch the tables. And so when we switch that conversation and change our dialogue in certain cases, then we can start to see that there are amazing tools out there that allow us to find the people who are responsible for making those decisions, see how they're voting in those decisions, contact them with our comments on their voting decisions, and really start to build a relationship with our local legislators and also on a federal level as well. They won't know unless you tell them. And so, we have to it's great that, millennials are starting to get more involved in local government in terms of we see younger people starting to take office and take on leadership roles. But we need more individuals to kind of say, it's really not that hard to get involved. There are easy ways to do it, and you can start by simply going to a city council meeting. That simple.
Gotcha, yes. So I know you mentioned something about, data sets, and for people out there who may not be familiar with, open data, may not be familiar with, data sets, can you kind of give a short explanation of what's a data set?
So a data set in our world is if I am looking at, let's say, the city of D.C., because that's where we're sitting at, and I'm looking at how many potholes were fixed in the city. So that sheet of paper, let's say it's a sheet of paper, that sheet of paper, that form online is going to show me numbers. It's going to show me how many potholes there were. It's going to show me the cost to fix that per pothole. It's going to show me who was responsible for fixing that pothole, what agency was responsible for trying to manage those type of activities. So literally, it's not just, hopefully, let me say this, hopefully if the city or state has done it right and made it user-friendly, it's not where it can't be completely digested, although data sets can sometimes be a lot of numbers, but it's just a breakdown and a picture of what your city is doing, dollars, dimes, cents, pennies, all that stuff.
Gotcha. Excellent. So how does the Sunlight Foundation, do they engage or organize like any hackathons or anything like that in order to engage other technologists or engineers and bring more tech ideas to the table? So, for instance, Sunlight Foundation it sounds like you guys are doing a pretty good job with creating apps to take advantage of this open data that's out there and create these applications that allow that to be digestible and to be used and digested by the common person. But obviously you guys can't think of everything. So do you guys ever involve yourselves in like hackathons or anything like that so you can get like fresh ideas on applications and how to utilize the data that you already have?
Yeah, so we have lots of cool things at Sunlight, one of them being a transparency camp, which is coming up the weekend of September the 12th in D.C., where we have a social gathering of people from all over the world, because Sunlight also does international open data stuff. And we all convene in D.C., and it's an unconference. So it is welcoming everyone in to talk about ideas surrounding open data and open government and all about transparency. And it's a great opportunity for people from all stages and walks to come and meet with other individuals who are really interested in seeing transparency and openness and pushing this idea of open data. But we also partner with places like Code for America. So Code for America, they have brigades in a lot of major cities. So we work with Code for America. We work with Code for Progress. Wow. So we've been able to take the data that we have and help power other organizations where they might not have the data or those tools, but Sunlight will partner with them and allow them to use our data and allow them to use our tools. And then everybody can come to transparency camp, like a really big happy family, and we can all be the cool kids talking about transparency and government and all that fun stuff in a really cool and fun and energetic, atmosphere where everyone is really there to talk about making governments more accountable.
What's that? Give us a little bit more information on Transparency Camp. Is there a website for it, and where is it happening? When?
So transparencycamp.org is the website for our Transparency Camp, and it is happening the weekend of September the 12th. And it literally is an unconference for open government. And so we have hundreds of people gather every year to talk about how do we use technology to make stronger policies for our government? How do we use technology to power better open data portals? How do we use technology to change the way people see government, the way people interact with government, and the way our government interacts with us? And so it's a great time to come and have those conversations with people who understand that. And if you don't understand it, there's somebody in the room who can explain it to you way better than I can. And it is just a fun time to really be in D.C. having those conversations.
Wow. I'm going to tweet that out because that sounds like something that our audience would definitely be interested in knowing about. And we just had Tiffany Ashley Bell. She was actually on our show last week? Or not last week, but our last episode. And she was actually part of the Code for America, that campaign. I think she was doing some stuff in Atlanta, I want to say, actually.
Oh, wow, yeah. Atlanta has a strong audience. They have a code for Atlanta, so that's, yeah.
Excellent. So tell me, how does local government enable people to get involved in creating solutions to common government information problems using technology? So, how are they trying to empower people to get involved? I know this is kind of a play off of what I asked earlier about how the Black community but what is the local government themselves? What are they doing to try to push people to get involved more in what goes on in their communities?
Yeah, so I think that we have to realize local government is a great way, first off, to get involved because it's immediate and it's direct access. So not everybody can get to Capitol Hill to go and sit in on Senate hearings, but you can get down to your local city council office. You can get down to, meetings that are held by government agencies that are making decisions about the things that matter to you most. And so in a lot of cities, you have local government officials who are pushing for people to become more engaged in local government and how it works and open data. So in Philadelphia, you have someone like Stacey Mosley, who is doing a really great job of saying, these are the data sets that Philadelphia has that tell us about our city. Now, how do we prioritize these data sets based upon what the public wants to see? In D.C., you have someone like Tracy Hughes who is saying, so there are these agencies, and they're all government agencies, and they're holding meetings. And we want to make sure that they're adhering to something called an open meeting law, which means that you have to post your agenda and post your minutes so that people know when you're meeting, what you're meeting on, what you decided. And so people like Tracy Hughes are inviting you into the conversation because they're saying, by law, I'm going to make sure that folks invite you to that conversation. And we're going to do that through technology. So we're going to post it on our website. We're going to tweet about it. We're going to put it on Facebook so that you know what's going on so that you can make a conscious decision to participate.
Right. Nice. So how can techies, how can engineers become more involved in helping local government? So I know you mentioned, Code for America, Code for Progress. Outside of those organizations, how can local people who are local to a certain community or whatever, engineers or techs, access that information? How can they begin helping local governments solve some of these problems? What's the best way for them to go about doing that?
I mean, we don't. You said Code for America and Code for Progress, but literally, honestly, getting involved in your local brigade. So, Hack for DC. Philadelphia just had a hackathon about health data. So literally getting involved, if it's not a Code for America brigade, if your city's hosting a hackathon, get involved in those hackathons because you're going to get in a room with people who understand issues that are unique to your city. And so you and everybody else in that room has something called human experience that unifies you all, that you can say, hey, we both agree that, like in D.C., we all agree. Metro sucks, right? Like, I hate Metro. Metro sucks. We can all agree on this. So can we create an app that helps Metro be way more efficient, especially on the red line? Is there a way we can do this? So that's what you can do, is that you can start talking about some of the things that are unique to your city at these local hackathons and start hacking away at it and finding, some technical solutions that folks like me are just waiting to play with.
Gotcha. And how are governments like presenting this data? How are they giving it to the people in order to for them to be able to use it in order to create these applications? So is this something that they can go to a certain website, or is it how do they get access to this data?
So some cities have open data portals where you can go in and you can access this information. Once again, that's on Sunlight's page. It talks about where we see policies that are in place. Now, just because they have a policy doesn't mean they have a portal, but there might be a chance that there's a portal there to that policy. Getting into those open data portals to get that information. Sometimes they put information up on GitHub. I'm not the tech girl. We have a great labs department at Sunlight full of programmers, developers who do this kind of stuff all day. And that's some of the ways that cities get that information out there is they put it on GitHub, they put it to their open data portal, and they ask people to respond. Philadelphia did a great job of, creating a portal, creating a place where the public can come in and, kind of comment on that process. And people in the community and the technical community were able to come out and really give their feedback on what they wanted to see. So it was great.
Excellent. So, what's next for you? So you, you're doing this thing with open data. You're working for. Oh, let me come back to that. Is Sunlight Foundation hiring, or is there opportunities for people within our audience to work on the technical side with Sunlight Foundation, or not even the technical side, on any side with Sunlight Foundation? So are there openings out there for engineers or policy analysts such as you?
I'm so happy that you asked me that question because we have 2 positions open right now. So I'm very excited that we get to announce this to your audience. We have a position for an open data project lead as a really cool position because that person will be really spearheading our involvement with a major foundation that basically funds our municipal open data work. So they will be doing a lot of work with state and local government. And then even more cool, which your audience might love, is we're hiring a front-end developer. Once again, she doesn't have a technology background. I don't know what that means, but it's really important. And our labs people are really cool, and they're developers and programmers. So they're hiring for a front-end developer. Also, and you can find all of that if you go to sunlightfoundation.com, click on About, and then Jobs, and you'll see both of those positions listed.
Is it foundations or just foundation.com?
Foundation.
Because I'm going to post. All right.
Yes, we are really interested in having talented people coming over to Sunlight.
So About and Jobs.
Then, yep, Jobs.
Oh, I see it. Okay. So I am going to.
Really cool. Really totally cool.
All right, because I'm going to post that on our Twitter as we speak. That is posted. All right, so hopefully we can get some people within our audience interested in those two positions. They sound like some pretty cool positions. And I'm looking at the Open or the Sunlight Foundation team right there. Pretty cool. All right, so what's next for what's next for Lavita? What are you getting into next?
What's next for Lavita? So one is passing the Maryland bar. That is the number one goal right now. Yep, we got to do this. And then the second thing would definitely be today Hillary Clinton said something really dynamic, and I was like, oh, my God, I love this. And she said, we should be doing everything we can to get our young people more engaged in our democracy, not less. And so I really feel like that has become my mission in life, to make sure that we are represented in government, that we have a voice in government, that we understand how our government works, and that we're involved on every single level. Like, it makes me no happier than when I walk into a room and I'm with a government official and it's one of us. You know, I'm like excited, like, yes, you know. So that's definitely what's on my agenda, is just to keep pushing forward in open government and hopefully seeing more diversity there.
Excellent. And how can people, if they want to learn more about Sunlight Foundation, they want to know more or learn more about you, how can they get in contact?
So I'm on Twitter. Lavita Tuff is my Twitter handle. You can email me, ltuff@sunlightfoundation.com. You can go to our website. You can go through all our really cool stuff and email through there. Promise you'll get from me. And that's about the best way to reach me. Twitter. And so, I'm not the best, but I'm getting better at this.
and Sunlight Foundation, that's at Sun Foundation on the Twitters for people. And Tuff is Tuff, not Tough.
Yeah, no, we're special Georgians with the Tuff.
There's some Tuffs. I want to say there's some Tuffs here in Cincinnati. I think I went to school with some Tuffs.
They probably migrated and left the backwoods of Georgia.
Excellent. Well, Lavita, I definitely want to thank you for joining us on this episode of the Big Tech Talk podcast. I definitely learned some stuff. I'm definitely going to go check out Checkbook NYC and Checkbook Ohio to see what they both have to offer. And check out transparencycam.org. I think that will be that's pretty cool as well. So once again, thanks a lot. Do you have any parting words for our audience?
No, thank you for having me. And I just want to put out there that 13% is another project that's really cool that's happening with emerging local government leaders that talks about making sure that more than 13% of people in government are either women or people of color. So that's another great diversity project that's out there. And I'm very happy that I was able to share with you guys about open data.
What was the name of that again? I think that's interesting.
It's 13%. So emerging local government leaders have been putting on this project where they blog and talk about racial diversity and inclusion in government. It's really, really cool to kind of combat why there aren't, a lot of people in certain areas of government. So it's a really cool project with ELGL50 is their Twitter handle.
One more time?
ELGL, and then the number 50.
And what's the website address for that? Do you have that handy?
That would be elgl.org.
And that's for the 13% project?
It's the project called, yep, 13%.
Wait, hold on, I'm confused. So the elgl50.org, that's different than the 13%?
So ELGL50 is their Twitter handle. The ELGL.org is their website.
Got you. Okay. Got it now. Well, this has been a very insightful talk about open data, and I just want to say real quick that this is important because people are always we're always constantly discussing how we can affect change in our community, and being that Black people are heavy users of mobile, Twitter, things like that. I think this is a really good way to really get involved in what's happening in your local government, in your local communities. Open data is a way to achieve that. So if you're really looking to affect change within your community, this is the way to do it, open data and open government. So I definitely want to thank you for informing our audience about that, and wish you luck in the future, and good luck on the Maryland bar.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Take care.
You too.
Blacks in Technology.
Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology.
One last announcement before we get out of here. I do want to thank our guests. That's it for this Blacks in Technology Bit Tech Talk podcast. I want to thank all our listeners. Thanks to our guest, Lavita Tuff. If you like what you heard tonight and want to let us know, and you have any suggestions or comments, then email them to us and contact us at blacksintechnology.net. Join us in 2 weeks on the 18th, same bit time, same bit channel. And we are going to be joined by tech startup founder Rodney Williams, native Cincinnati. And so Cincinnati will definitely be in the building. Rodney is the founder and CEO of Listener, that's LISNR, and leads one of the hottest companies in the IoT space. And IoT is the Internet of Things. And he intends to disrupt the mobile industry with a new communication protocol that is the most efficient way to connect any device with a speaker or microphone. A listener is a new communication standard between devices to connect any device with a speaker or microphone using high-frequency data over audio called smart tones. These silent audio files can be broadcasted from television, live events, radio, or any standard speaker, and then interact with listeners' coder-based SDK API Java. So this is going to be a very, very interesting podcast. This gentleman is heads one of the hottest startup companies out there, and the technology that's involved is pretty fascinating. So that's June 18th, 9 p.m. Same bit time, same bit channel. I want to thank again our guests for joining us tonight. Remember, tech yourself before you wreck yourself. Take care and have a good night.